Here's another fun build inspiration for the Cosmere RPG, the Grapplin Wrangler. This is an unarmed hunter, warrior, windrunner grappling build that aims to control enemy positioning so your allies can smack them up or focus on other threats. We've got three main goals: grab the enemy, knock them down, and keep them down. We're going to start by grappling our enemies. This lets us make an athletics test to restrain the target. A restrained character has 0 movement and disadvantage on all tests other than those to escape their bonds. That means they're going to be strongly incentivized to burn an action trying to escape you. We can use the regular grapple action for 2 actions, which will take up most of your turn, or once we gain access to dire form, we can use a reactive strike to grapple instead of striking, though it still costs 1 focus. Iron Stance says, when a character within your reach misses you or grazes you with an attack, you can use reactive strike against them as if they'd voluntarily left your reach. With dire form, that means those reactive strikes can all be grapples too. So we've got the enemy grappled. Now what? Well, we try to move them into danger, away from their allies, or just plain out of the way. We could shove them, but if we've got the lifting capacity, at the GM's discretion, we can lift and move an unwilling character we have grappled. Admittedly, dragging a character along the ground could be tricky, but what if we flew? Becoming a windrunner lets us enhance ourselves with Stormlight, which helps our athletics tests, but also grants us access to 40 feet of flying movement through Flying Ace. Now we can yoink an enemy away from their allies or bring them 40 feet up into the air. So, remember in 1998 when Undertaker threw Mankind off Hell in a Cell and he plummeted 16 feet through an announcer's table? Well, we've got an extra 24 feet to work with. Once we got him up there, we can just drop him. Or we can channel our inner wrestler and suplex them back down into the ground with a second lashing for up to 4d12 damage from gravitational slam, with a strong argument for an additional 4d6 fall damage. Since we can't use the basic lashing action more than once per turn, you'll want a pre-existing gravitation infusion on yourself, or the Master of the Skies talent to be able to both fly and lash someone back down in the same turn. With all this aerial maneuvering, it's worth looking at sure-footed. Reduced fall damage helps when things go wrong, and combined with your carapace's deflect means you're probably okay to kamikaze into the ground with an enemy if they manage to grapple you in the air. The extra movement rate is just icing on the cake. Alternatively, you can just use gravitation offensively on the ground by lashing enemies 45 degrees up and away into the sky. Multiple lashings let you infuse someone up to 5 times to send them 200 feet off into the horizon. Looks like Team Rocket's blasting off again! Whether you send them down, left, up, right, or whatever, when they eventually come back down to the ground, they'll take 1d6 damage for every 10 feet they fell. And if they take any fall damage at all, they fall prone. Which brings us to our next section: knock them down. A prone character is lying flat on the ground, is slowed, and melee attacks against them gain an advantage. They can brace without cover and can get up for 5 movement. This is awesome. Knocking a foe prone makes them a juicy target for all your melee allies who'll just love the advantage. So, as we explored earlier, fall damage can knock enemies prone. We can also carry a net, which we can toss to try and restrain and knock a large or smaller foe prone. Unfortunately, there aren't a ton of other great options. I'm not using these, but just for coverage, Agent Spies can use Subtle Takedown, but we need to take 3 other talents we don't really want first. It costs 2 actions, and the target needs to be an unsuspecting foe your size or smaller, and you still need to roll an opportunity for it to knock someone prone. It's probably not worth the Agent dip, but Cheap Shot would be nice for this build if you decide you want to go for it. The bottom of the Shardbearer tree offers Meteoric Leap, which can damage and knock multiple foes down if you're stronger than them. I do actually really like this one, but I don't want to spend the talents on the prerequisites. Other surges like Abrasion, Cohesion, or Transformation have ways to knock people prone as well, but we'll have trouble accessing them as a Windrunner. And as far as I can tell, that's pretty much it for official ways to knock someone prone. That said, while there may not be many written rules for it, the game encourages creativity, and you can obviously try an improvised action to knock someone prone in any way that makes sense. I'm just sticking to more concrete abilities for the video, but you could certainly try to emulate a bandit's trip, or a Ghostblood Enforcer's dueling cane, or a guard's long spear strike, or a soldier's shield bash. Hey, this isn't fair. It seems like every NPC and their grandma has a way to knock people prone. Well, good news, everyone! Any one of these NPCs could join you on the battlefield as a companion reward you earn throughout your journey. And as a Radiant, they could even become your Squires, gaining access to Stormlight as well as basic gravitation and adhesion. The only hitch is that coordinating timing of attacks can be difficult since NPC companions act on NPC turns and are controlled by the GM. Unless we dip into Hunter, and it's your own personal animal companion. Now we can give them actions to act on our turn and control them directly. Axe Hounds are the perfect fit. On a successful bite attack, they can spend a focus to knock a medium character prone. And it gets better. When they knock a character down, they can immediately drag them 10 feet, playing perfectly into our position control strategy. Don't forget that as you level up, they'll get a development bonus, which makes that bite attack even more reliable. At higher tiers, you can unlock higher tiered companions like horses and Rishadium, who can knock multiple foes prone if they fail a set DC test, which unfortunately won't scale with development bonuses. You could also get multiple axe hounds, which I think is the play. You could have a whole pack of them. Though keep in mind, only one can act on your turn under your control, and the rest will be controlled by the GM. So you probably need to spend some time training them to knock foes prone on their own. At tier 4, you can also gain a Chasm Fiend as a companion, and they knock stuff prone like nobody's business. But anyway, I was imagining my pack of axe hounds when I got thinking about the Take Squire rules. After reading the rules at the start of the Radiant chapter, I was thinking, there's no rule that says a dog can't play basketball. But turns out it's in the specific rules for the Take Squire ability itself. The potential Squire has to be a willing and sapient companion, so that probably rules out the axe hounds. But Rishadium and Chasm Fiends both have explicit references to their sapience in the Stormlight World Guide, so anyone order a flying Chasm Fiend? So now you and your animal companions are knocking stuff prone left, right, and center, disabling foes and laying out a veritable smorgasbord for your allies. The only issue is that your prone enemies can just stand up on their next turn. So let's do something about that. As a Windrunner, we'll also have access to Adhesion, allowing us to stick stuff together. Once someone is prone, that means we can stick their clothes, belt, or armor to the floor, and they'll need to break the bond before they can get back up. Almost all the talents here are great for us, but I'll run through my highlights. Binding Strike lets us spend focus or opportunities to combine a full lashing with an attack, automatically succeeding on a hit. That helps us in multiple ways. Initially, we'll probably have a higher athletic score than Gravitation, so that means a better hit rate when we punch a foe. Later on, it lets us apply a second full lashing in the same turn if we need to without having to use the same action twice. Finally, we can combine this with the attack and Flying Ace to fly by someone, lash them to us, and pick them up into the air without the need to grapple them first. Stormlight Reclamation lets us end an Adhesion infusion early, recovering the Stormlight, which is great because we're very investiture hungry. It also lets us sever the bonds at the opportune moment. Distant Surge Binding is amazing. It extends the reach of our abilities to stick people to 20 feet. Furthermore, as confirmed by the devs on Discord, it affects all the surges we have access to, and ranged gravitation is insane, effectively serving as telekinesis. Use the Force to shoot objects at people with gravitational shot, channel your inner Mortal Kombat Scorpion and make your foes get over here, or just wave your hand and launch them away into the sky with 5 lashings and they'll be gone for 5 turns, 200 feet up, then come crashing down for 20 d6 fall damage. Just don't forget to breathe Stormlight to replenish afterwards. Living Adhesion lets us directly infuse a character, rather than something attached to them, increasing our pinning capacity dramatically. When adhered this way, they become restrained, they gain a disadvantage on all physical tests, notably this doesn't exclude tests to escape like regular restrained, and all attack tests against them gain advantage. So now we don't even need to knock them prone first. Lastly, Superior Bond means any character with less than 6 strength can't ever break your adhesion bonds. We don't need Binding Shot, so I'm skipping Adhesion Trap, but if you wanted to go that route, laying down a trap then throwing someone into it seems really fun. We can also grab Reverse Lashing, opening up some creative options, but mostly to unlock Invested, giving us a bigger investiture pool to play with. One last control option instead of some of these utility talents is to power through our ideals to unlock Radiant Shard Plate and its Restraining Armor feature. This lets us use a discipline test to restrain unsuspecting foes inside our Shard Plate. We can start encounters with this or use it as a follow-up to the Hunter talent Startling Blow, which can surprise a target. As a bonus, Surprise works really nicely with Grapple since a surprise character gains 1 less action at the start of their turn, and they probably want to use an action to break free. If they're taking a fast turn, they wouldn't even have enough actions to try and shove you off. We're mostly going to be fighting unarmed. In dire form, with Stormlight and Plate, we can hit 10 strength, meaning we punch for 2d10 damage, as much as any shard weapon. We can also pick up combat training or devote an attribute point to intelligence for expertise in unarmed combat, giving us advantage through momentum and a focus discount on offhand punches. The attack portion of Flying Ace does need a weapon, so we may occasionally want a one-handed weapon for that, keeping our other hand free for lashings. So let's just picture a combat scenario. You're surrounded by 2 foes, with a third one attacking a nearby ally. You're taking a slow turn. One of them tries to hit you, but misses, so you grapple them. On your turn, your Axe Hound knocks the enemy attacking your ally prone and drags them 10 feet toward you. You use 1 action for Startling Blow to surprise the ungrappled foe, then a second action to summon your Shard Plate and trap them inside it. With Flying Ace, you strike at the foe at your feet with a Binding Strike to lash them to the ground, then fly your grappled foe into the air and release the grapple as a free action. They fall 40 feet, take 4d6 damage, and fall prone, which triggers your pack of Axe Hounds on the Hunt reaction, who move in to surround them, ready to tear them apart on the next NPC turn. That's 3 enemies handled in 1 turn, and that's just a few of myriad ways you can apply these surges to control the battlefield. When starting this type of character, we'll want to spend our attributes maximizing strength, speed, awareness, and/or presence. Strength determines our lifting capacity, is clutch for athletics, which helps our grapples and unarmed strikes, and increases our physical defense. We'll be in the thick of things, so good defense is key. 3 speed helps that defense even more and gives us a solid 30 feet movement for all our positional planning. Awareness impacts gravitation tests, and presence does the same for adhesion. They also determine our investiture score. It's maybe a bit counter-synergistic to maximize both of them, since only the higher of the two is used to determine our investiture limit, but you might want to anyway for the bonuses to your surge test. If not, you can grab a point of intelligence for unarmed combat expertise, more speed, or willpower to gain more focus and a better recovery die. On top of the usual options, we spend focus on reactive grapples, flying ace attacks, binding strike, and offhand punches. If you want to do any of those things more than twice per scene without pausing to use recover, you'll need to invest some points in willpower. In terms of skills, we'll mostly focus on maximizing athletics, gravitation, and adhesion. If you go for shardplate, also maximize discipline to successfully restrain people in your shardplate. Discipline can also help resist the influence of Direform's Void Spren if you happen to get that before bonding a Radiant Spren. So here's a sample build route you could follow. This is a very Radiant path heavy build, so that means we're forced to save some Heroic or Ancestry path talents to use as our non-Radiant bonus talents at 6, 11, 16, and 21. We're starting as a Hunter to get our animal companion sooner, since we can't unlock Direform until we have 3 discipline at tier 2. But right away here we can leverage the extra strength from Warform to grapple people. Then at level 2 we can fly them up into the air with gravitation. By level 3 we get an Axe Hound and we can knock enemies prone and glue them to the ground with Adhesion. The next many levels unlock abilities that make all your maneuvers more effective. We focus on improving Adhesion, then back to gravitation once it has extended range, ultimately finishing off with Master of the Skies and Superior Bond. From there, you either finish up by pursuing ideals for Shardplate or nab some utility and pad your investiture score. So that's my inspiration for the Grapplin Wrangler. Let me know if you got any ideas for this type of build, if I missed any must-have talents or expertises, if you caught any mistakes, or if you got any ideas for the next one. But for now, thanks for watching, and don't forget to enjoy the journey.